Hi, my name is Nelson Dong. I'm a partner at the Dorsey Whitney law firm in Seattle, and I've been a regular contributor to Pacific Northwest Defense Coalition programs over the last several years. Today's Digital Digest is really going to focus on some recent decisions announced by the White House on May 8th with regard to the Iranian situation. Specifically, President Trump announced on May 8th that the United States is withdrawing from what is called the Joint Cooperative Plan of Action, or the JCPOA, which is the negotiated nuclear settlement that had been reached between the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. That is United States, United Kingdom, France, Russia, China, plus Germany, the so-called P5+1 countries, and Iran. In doing so, President Trump asked the Office of Foreign Assets Control, or OFAC, at the Department of the Treasury to reinstate certain sanctions that were in place prior to the JCPOA being signed in 2015 under the Obama administration. This has certain implications for American aerospace contractors who have been following these activities because, pursuant to the JCPOA signed in 2015, Boeing and Airbus each obtained special licenses from OFAC to be able to sell commercial aircraft to Iran. Indeed, one of the linchpins of the JCPOA was the agreement by the United States and its European allies to free up sales of airliners to Iran to replace its aging air fleet. So today, American suppliers, particularly those here in the Pacific Northwest, who are part of the supply chain for Boeing and Airbus, have to contend with this new policy change. This Digital Digest is going to try to distill the background of the JCPOA and then what this most recent set of decisions is likely to mean for Boeing and Airbus and their two respective supply chains, and how that will trickle down to suppliers in this region. First, let's go back in history a little bit and realize that the United States and many of its allies have had fairly comprehensive sanctions on Iran for the past 3 decades. Immediately before the Obama administration took office, there was already a very comprehensive set of sanctions in place against Iran that prohibited virtually all kinds of business between the United States and any purchasers in Iran. Against that backdrop, negotiators worked for nearly 8 years to negotiate the JCPOA. In return for closing down its nuclear enrichment program beyond a certain minimal level needed for civilian nuclear reactors, Iran agreed to comprehensive inspections of its nuclear facilities by the International Atomic Energy Agency, or the IAEA, in Vienna, and to sign on to an agreement called the Non-Proliferation Treaty and an annex to the NPT that really gave very strong and intrusive inspection rights to the IAEA. Thus far, since the deal was signed, the IAEA has certified that Iran was in compliance with the JCPOA, and so far as we know in the United States, all of our own intelligence and defense agencies have also confirmed to the White House that Iran has been adhering to the JCPOA since it was signed. As a result of Iran's agreement to go forward with the deal and to adhere to its terms, the United States and its allies in the P5+1 agreed to a series of measures to reduce sanctions against Iran. First and foremost, the Iranians wanted to restore some degree of operational safety and efficiency to its aging air fleet. Because of the embargoes, neither European nor American aircraft suppliers could easily supply Iran either replacement parts and components for its largely European and American supplied air fleet, or replace them with modern planes. As a result of the JCPOA, OFAC announced in 2016 that there would be something called the Statement of Licensing Policy, or the SLP. The SLP indicated that on a case-by-case basis, OFAC would allow American companies to come forward and apply for licenses to supply not only entire aircraft of the commercial civilian aviation type passenger aircraft to Iran, but other suppliers who supply subsystems and other parts of the commercial civilian aircraft industry, such as companies that would supply infrastructure for aging airports or expanding airports. And so there was a general sense of enthusiasm across the European and American aerospace industry that this largely dormant market of over 60 million people was finally opening up. The largest players in this field, Airbus and Boeing, each applied to OFAC for what are known as specific licenses to be able to export their planes to Iran. And in the fall of 2016, both those companies received licenses to be able to sell aircraft. Altogether, Boeing and Airbus were given permission to sell just under 200 aircraft to Iran. And those were pursuant to firm signed purchase agreements with various Iranian air carriers. So going forward, there had been some hope that that would have meant work for the supply chains of both companies, because there is obviously a lot of American content and specifically Pacific Northwest content on board those Boeing planes, and even to a great extent on board Airbus aircraft that are being produced for that market. However, the May 8th announcement indicates that OFAC is canceling the Statement of Licensing Policy and will withdraw the SLP entirely. In addition, it is indicated that it will close down what is called General License I, under which American vendors are able to go to Iran to negotiate contingent contracts with Iranian customers. And furthermore, Secretary Steve Mnuchin of the Treasury Department indicated on May 8th at the same time that it is his intention to revoke both the export licenses that have been given to Boeing and to Airbus. For all these reasons, it looks quite dim at the moment that America will be able to participate again in the Iranian aircraft market at any time soon. Boeing has yet to deliver any of the airplanes that it contracted to supply to Iran as a result of the JCPOA arrangement, and Airbus has only made minimal deliveries to this point. There are wind-down periods that have been announced as a result of this change of policy. Some of those will expire in August, and others will expire in early November of this year. There will also be some follow-on procedures for payments and other things that may need to be tied off after early November of 2018. In short, what this means is that the United States has truly withdrawn once again from the Iranian market, and that the ripple effect of this change of government policy will be upon very large suppliers in the aerospace industry, namely Boeing and Airbus, and even a smaller player called ATR. That in turn flows down to smaller suppliers who are in the supply chains of these aircraft manufacturers, and so they too will be affected. It would be prudent of any company that has been expecting sales activities to take place because of the JCPOA and the SLP and the 2 Boeing and Airbus licenses, to rethink those arrangements immediately and to make other plans consistent with American law as it is evolving. We will be giving a further webinar on June 8 through the PNDC to explore further the details of what OFAC will require of American companies that are already in the supply chain and may already have activity ongoing with Iran, and how to wind those down in time to avoid any civil or criminal liability. Please stay tuned for further details about that webinar on June 8th, and I look forward to talking with all of you again then. Thank you.